Now, as the Nigerian government pushes back against President Trump's assertion that Christians are being genocidally killed in Nigeria, the opposition pushes back against the Nigerian government, laying responsibility for the diplomatic crisis between Washington and Abuja squarely at the doorstep of what they called the inept Tinubu administration. A former presidential candidate and chieftain of the PDP, Gbenga Olawepo-Hashim, said the diplomatic standoff reflects what he called the Tinubu government's reckless and self-serving foreign policy, which he said prioritizes personal and political interests over Nigeria's national security and global reputation. How deeply troubling is it, he asks, that 2.5 years after President Tinubu was sworn in, Nigeria does not have ambassadors in many key countries. With the institutional mechanisms for diplomacy paralyzed, he laments that the government has resorted to using what he called a motley crowd of poorly informed operatives and international outlaws pushing shady interests incoherently and dangerously. Which categories of Nigerians need to die in staggering numbers before the government acknowledges the evidence of complicity and failure to protect its citizens? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the PDP chieftain and former presidential candidate, Gbenga Olawepo-Hashim. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
I'm very grateful that you invited me.
Well, we're very grateful that you're here. How big a deal is this row with Donald Trump? What are your concerns about it?
To start with, Nigerians ordinarily don't like foreign intervention. And that was why early in the independence days, when the British Anglo Defense Pact with Nigeria was suggested, students all over the campuses were the first to be on the streets to protect against it. And I came from that student tradition of student leadership. So ordinarily, as Nigerians, we don't like foreign intervention. Now, but this is not the major point here. The major point we must not lose sight of is that this is about killings in staggering numbers in the country, and failure of the leadership to offer protection for the people, whether they are Muslims or Christians or enemies. This is not the substance that we're dealing with here. And statistics on the ground, even from the Federal Office of Statistics, federal government agency, shows that in the first half of this year, the numbers of killing associated with kidnappings and all this violence has doubled as against the number you had throughout 2024. That is, in 2025, the first 6 months number doubled the number of killings in 2024.
Well, the government says that its statistics show that the numbers are coming
Well,
down.
I don't know what statistics they're talking about, because this is from the Federal Office of Statistics. Amnesty International's report, which is quite credible, you know, they have no reason to play politics with statistics in Nigeria, reveals that in the past 2 years, 10,215 people have been killed in violence related to activities of terrorists. 80% in 2 states, Plateau and Benue. And what is the faith that is predominant in those 2 states? Christians. And who are these terrorists? So, depending on who is interpreting the data, if it's a Christian interest group that is pushing the narrative, it's so easy to say, if you had 10,200 people killed, and 8,000 of them were Christians, that is a Christian genocide. And if the actors that were perpetrating the violence were predominantly Muslim and jihadis, it's very easy to say is a genocide against Christians. But that is not the main issue. The main issue is that these are Nigerian citizens. Whether they are Christians or enemies or even Muslims, Nigerian government has a responsibility to offer protection.
So let me ask you this, right? If you were looking at this week and the developments that have taken place in the past 5 days, essentially, if you were looking at it from a year ago, could you have seen this coming, or have you been shocked by it all?
To be honest, I wasn't shocked about the statement from President Trump. What I'm shocked about is the response from the Nigerian government, because there were hearings in the U.S. Senate that have been going on these issues for years, not just now. And Nigerian government didn't even have, just like we said, a functioning ambassador in the United States. So how do you put your story across in a very serious manner to be taken seriously? Because I had the APC publicity secretary saying we should have used what channels of communication?
Yeah, he talked about back channels.
He said back channel. And this is the point. They like back channels. When there are institutionalized structure of communication in international relations, your ambassador is your president in a foreign land. It's not the same thing as a charge d'affaires in an embassy. Secondly, when you have diplomatic agreements with countries, normally there will be other structures like binational or bilateral commissions. That's the one with the U.S. is a binational commission. They meet periodically, they discuss trade, they discuss security and all that. In the past 10 years, these structures have been paralyzed.
Right.
Some 4 years ago, I had a visit from a diplomat from Niger. And he said to me, can you please talk to somebody in government? He said, for almost 10 years, we have not had the commission, the joint commission between Nigeria and Niger speak. And you can imagine we had all these security issues. They are our immediate borders. These were the legitimate institutional framework. So they paralyze all these structures. And then they get some funny friends to go and do backroom talk. That's not how to conduct foreign relations. Especially for a country like Nigeria that is really being a major player at the world stage. Nigeria was the leading partner to stabilize West Africa. Anyone, Liberia, whether it is the US or any power, will talk to Nigeria about Sierra Leone. We talk to Nigeria about Gambia. We talk to Nigeria because we built such level of reputation. Since Nigeria was admitted to the United Nations, when we first went to Congo, right, in the First Republic, Nigeria has been a reliable partner for stabilizing the entire West African region. But what we have seen with the APC government, and particularly the Tinubu administration, is a reckless foreign policy that is disjointed, that is incoherent. You know, this is not the first time we have been pushed to the brink of a foreign war. The first one was when President Tinubu was threatening to make a war with Niger. That was the first foreign policy blunder. So it's not just about the United States. This is consistent.
Having got to, obviously, I mean, that's your assessment of the situation, but having seen where Nigeria is at the moment with this threat of military action from the United States, what do you think the role of the opposition should be? I mean, because there are some people who have talked about advising the government to cultivate an atmosphere of transparency, for example, because nobody wants this country to be invaded. I mean, the possible fallout, I mean, nobody's considered that. But I mean, Should Nigeria cultivate an atmosphere of transparency that allows external observers to come in and assess the facts firsthand? And perhaps that should include inviting assessments by multilateral partners like the UN or the African Union, and giving greater access to journalists, CSOs, independent researchers, and so on. Is that a potentially good way forward so that people can actually be armed with the real facts here?
Well, there is no controversy about the facts. And where we have controversy is in action right now. If Nigeria people see action against terrorists, and look, for the past 3 years, have been making some concrete suggestions on national security initiative that government should have taken. I had proposed before a defense cooperative agreement structured with some countries that we will be comfortable with, even before this US initiative. There are African countries that have gone through this kind of experience and have been able. You don't have to be.
No, I understand all that, yeah. but that is something that can't be done like by wave. What I'm trying to understand.
No, you can do that within 1 week.
When the president of the United States,
you can do it in a week.
When the president of the United States,
that's faster than getting visitors to collect information.
But when the president of the United States weighs in and puts priority on the suffering of one community to the exclusion of the others, does it at the very least face the risk of undermining and complicating any kind of political consensus in Nigeria that could potentially form in order to address this issue?
No, I see your point. The Tinubu administration has not been operating like a government that wants an internal consensus. Their program was to eliminate the opposition from PDP to Labour Party, get everybody through blackmail and intimidation to be in APC. You cannot have a consensus when you are eliminating the opposition.
So let me get this. Okay. Let me get this straight. You're happy to throw the president under the bus at the moment, given how, according to you, he himself. Hold on. He himself allegedly tried to destabilize the collective opposition. Yeah. So it's payback, basically.
No. It's not a question of payback. Let me tell you something. As long as you rupture the consensus that has stabilized democracy, then you get chaos and anarchy. Okay. It's not for accident that we have not had this instability for a long time. It's because we all, at some point in time, as political leaders in Nigeria, subscribed to a consensus on how our country will be governed, multi-party democracy.
Do you detect a political opportunity here for the opposition?
It's not an opportunity for the opposition. It's an opportunity for Nigerians to have a real frank conversation about how to govern this country in a secured and stable manner in which politicians will not prioritize their personal and private interests far and above national interests.
That's what all you guys do. I mean, it doesn't really matter which part.
When you're talking to me, Charles, excuse me, when you're talking to me, Charles, you are not talking to Mocha.
No.
You are talking to, excuse me, you are talking to somebody who was a prisoner of conscience.
Right.
In this country, because I fought for democracy.
Yeah, well, President Tinubu would argue that he fought for democracy as well.
Yeah, and I was named so 5 years after Nelson Mandela. So I'm not Tinubu, I'm not Atiku. That's where I came into politics from. So you can't just lump everybody together. And when you do that, you are not doing justice to the issue.
Well, let me put it this way. That there are few people, and I'm sure you will admit this as well, with the kind of substantial personality that Donald Trump has. And it wouldn't have made any difference, would it, if it was the PDP in power, even though this might well be a political opportunity for the PDP, because arguably, no one would have been able to get on top of the very complex Nigerian security situation in just over 2 years without considerable international help. Or do you think that by not having that strong diplomatic representation that you talked about in a place as strategically important as Washington, Mr. Tinubu has effectively burnt that bridge?
No, I think it was deliberate on their part. Look, listen, don't let us kid ourselves. There are many members of the political elites in Nigeria on various sides that are profiting from the instability in Nigeria. People are selling solid minerals in various northern states without paying a dime to the federal government. And they are supporters of important political parties, and they have a lot of influences. All right. So you take, for instance, the response from China on this case. All right. Who are the ones buying the solid minerals? From the hoodlums controlling the mines in northern Nigeria. All right. So there are a whole lot of issues at stake beyond even the blood of the ordinary people. Beneath it is a lot of economics. Anywhere you find lithium, you find gold, you find solid minerals, the bandits go there, and the arms follow the bandits. And these solid minerals are processed by some people. So there is a business in this blood that is going on. So, and you have different military factions, even in the armed forces, involved in this business. You are not going to sort out all this problem by setting up panels to investigate. Somebody has to stop this mess right now. And if the threat by President Trump will give us an occasion to face this reality, that's beyond rhetorics, beyond politics, these killings and this violence have to stop right now.
And is this
any agenda that cannot give us immediate solution, that's still going to be another elongated talk shop. This is not what you need now. People are dying.
Absolutely.
In their thousands.
But is this also possibly a template for the opposition to claw its way back from where the APC has left them, essentially crushed and defeated? I mean, is this an opportunity for the whether or not it's an opportunity in a positive way, because you're trying to right what you perceive to be the wrongs? I mean, do you perceive a political opportunity here?
No, you asked that question many times.
Well, I didn't ask it many times. I asked it once before. I'm asking it again.
I didn't want to answer. That's why.
Well, that's why I'm asking you again.
Yeah, I didn't want to answer that because we are going to politicize this very grave issue if we keep answering or following that line of questioning. And I am not a regular politician.
You're an irregular one, are
I'm
you?
an irregular politician.
Right.
What is important to me right now, because in my own constituency, I come from the North Central, 80% of the victims are from this region where I play my politics. So I am concerned on how to stop the killing right now, not next year. And if Mr. Trump's threats will make us sit on the table to find a solution right now, it's a welcome development.
Okay. On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's really nice to talk with you. Gbenga Olawepo-Hashim is a PDP chieftain and former presidential candidate. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Always nice to be here. I appreciate it.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and Lagos, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.